You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
We're closing in on 250 episodes. You realize that?
No, and I put the episode number in the email that I sent to you, which is crazy. I should have put.
Still didn't dawn on you.
Yeah, I should have put 248 and 2 together and realized where we.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting close. I thought I'd say that and you'd be like, "Yeah, can you believe it? That is nuts." But we're to each their own count. Maybe I'm just living too far in the future. It's we got to live every day as though it's its own special gem, a diamond, if you will, like a baseball diamond.
I mean, the way I look at it is that this is a baseball podcast, not a counting podcast. So
that is true.
I was focused on everything else going on, and not the count.
Or an accounting podcast, which sounds like the most boring thing on the planet. No offense to accountants who tune in. We love you.
Or accounting podcast.
Or accounting podcast, I guess. And hey, with that, we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show from MILB.com. My name is Tyler Vaughn. Sam Dykstra is in the Sunshine State of Florida with a few days already under your belt for spring training. When'd you get there?
What did I get?
When did you get there?
Oh, when did I get here? I was like, what did I get? I got a lot of stories. I got some quotes. I got an interview. No, I got here on Saturday. Flew down here, took my time, went on Sunday to the Dolly Museum in St. Petersburg. I highly recommend it if anybody ever gets a chance. Went to St. Pete Beach, which was kind of neat. And then, rolled into things on Monday with Phillies camp and then Tigers camp on Tuesday, and just finished up just before this podcast at Twins camp here on Wednesday. So, things have been rolling pretty quick after I got here Saturday.
Very cool. We are going to dive into this week's stuff on the Show Before the Show. But before we do, the day has come. 92 teams, more than 450 games, and countless celebrations of U.S. Hispanic communities across minor league baseball. Copa de la Diversión is back and bigger than ever in 2020. Find your favorite Copa team, check out their newly unveiled on-field looks, and purchase tickets at MILB.com/Copa. That's MILB.com/Copa. Copa de la Diversión, back for a new year. We got awesome logos and names and uniforms and all that kind of stuff, and you can get your tickets right now, and we will continue to remind you of that fact as the season gets closer and closer. And we'll dive into three strikes on this week's episode. Obviously, there are a whole lot of things going on in the world. We're going to try to focus on some fun baseball stuff as we kick off this week's show. And we're going to start in spring training with a rite of every mid-March passage, which is that for strike one this week, we're going to talk about some guys who have already been reassigned to minor league camp. Major league camp comes with a large swath of prospects who are included in major league invites to spring training. And then as the month goes along, we see those prospects begin to be dispatched back to minor league camp. Sam, early on, who are the notable reassignments that you've had an eye on over the last few weeks?
Yeah, and I'll get to that here in a second because there are definitely a lot, like Tyler just said. We are in that stretch run now where it feels like every day some camp is optioning or reassigning players. But one thing to note about this, because it's been pervasive in just the last week or the last couple of days that I've been here in Florida, is that people call it cut day. And I get that and I totally understand it. But cut day makes me think of Major League. Remember there was a whole thing about like
the red ticket in your locker.
Exactly. And everybody was worried about cut day. And I get that you want to be in the major leagues, but the bulk of people we're going to talk about here in this segment aren't cut. I don't want to phrase it that way.
Yeah,
they're not.
That's a tough turn of phrase because it's not really the way it applies. It's not like an NFL training camp.
No, not by any means. These are not, these guys are non-roster invitees. They're not on the roster to begin with. They're being reassigned or optioned if they're already on the 40-man roster. But they're going back to minor league camp. And if it's happening now, this was expected. I mean, there aren't any huge surprises that have happened so far. The only surprises that happening are ones in which you thought, I thought that guy might be in big league camp for just a little while longer to get that experience. But the names that we're talking about just today, Christian Pache was sent back to Gwinnett. Nobody was expecting the Braves to hold on to him, obviously, with the outfield that they have right now. J.J. Bleday, Jazz Chisholm, and Jesus Sanchez were sent back by the Marlins yesterday. The Giants sent back Joey Bart. The Mariners sent back Julio Rodriguez. These are just guys getting reassigned. It's not any worry. And one other thing I want to point out, too, that will happen is you'll hear guys get optioned to a specific place. That's kind of just a paper move at this point. I think the Braves, when they made their moves, they announced that William Contreras is being optioned to AAA Gwinnett. William Contreras being a pretty good catching prospect in that system, now on the 40-man roster because they believe in his bat, they believe in his overall profile. There's a hope that, despite having some pretty other good catchers in that system, Shea Langoliers being one of them, that Contreras could someday be the catcher of the future. Great. Just because he got optioned to AAA Gwinnett does not mean that he's going to start the year there. I think he's actually going to start the year at AA Mississippi, where he had some struggles at the end of last year. They also have Alex Jackson in that system. They're going to need both of those guys to get at bats. So when you hear some of the transactions and you think, oh, that guy's moving to AAA, that seems aggressive, don't look into it too hard. The Tigers had a couple the other day as well. Sometimes it'll make you raise your eyebrow and make you think twice about why is so-and-so player moving to AA instead of AAA, and maybe it's a team showing its hand. That can happen, but don't look too much into it. Like Franklin Perez got optioned all the way down to Class A Advanced Lakeland. I don't know where he's starting the year, and I know he's dealt with a lot of injury issues. I think that's just a roster space situation. Even at AAA and AA, the rosters can only have so many names. So sometimes you drop a guy down because it's not going to hurt his ego to know that he's going to be at Lakeland. For Franklin Perez, that certainly counts in that aspect. We'll have to see where he starts out the year. We're going to talk about the Tigers here in a little bit. But yeah, other names that we haven't talked about yet for reassignments and options. Sixto Sanchez getting optioned by the Marlins, not a big surprise. Adley Rutschman got reassigned by the Orioles on March 6th. Nobody's expecting him to start out the year in Baltimore. He's kind of falls under that category of somebody I thought they would stretch out to, deeper into March, but this is his first spring training. He doesn't even know what minor league spring training looks like yet. He needs to get those at-bats on the backfields. He was mostly coming in for mop-up duty, pinch hit at-bat here and there. I don't even know if he caught that much really this spring. So getting him onto the backfields, getting him to work with the pitchers that he's actually going to be working with as a catcher, probably starting out at Class A Advanced Frederick, is a good thing. Even if this feels like cuts, even if you see some other people call these cuts, they're not cuts by any means. They're just getting guys into places where they can play real minor league games preparatory minor league games on the backfields against the competition that they're actually going to be facing when the year and the season begins.
Strike two this week, the Detroit Tigers, one of the most interesting systems in minor league baseball. We discussed some of their pitching talent the last couple episodes as we broke down our minor league system rankings, and that is topic number two this week. There is kind of a logjam of pitching talent in that system, and Sam, right now, obviously it's a very good problem to have, but what does that problem look like for the Tigers with Casey Mize and everyone else? Yeah,
so the way I wrote this is because I went to Tigers camp yesterday wondering, and I know it's too far out, we're talking here on March 11th, minor league opening day as I think April 9th. We're not even a month out yet. Nobody I talked to this week is going to tell me exactly where so-and-so is starting. I know that's going to happen. I've been to enough spring trainings now, but the Tigers, they have some really good pitching prospects. We know that. Casey Mize, Matt Manning, Tarek Skubal, Joey Wentz, Alex Fado. Four of those guys, everybody but Wentz, is still in major league camp. Wentz just got sent down, or reassigned rather, but he's been dealing with a forearm issue. I've been told he's back throwing again, so it's not going to be a worrisome thing for him on opening day, but they need him to start ramping up, and they want to do that on the backfields. Okay, great. All five of those guys ended last year at AA Erie. Now, it's easy to say, given their results, given their stuff, given their whole profiles, that they should move up to AAA Toledo. That's just not going to happen. The Tigers made some signings to bring veterans in for potential depth at the AAA level. They have other decent prospects. Bo Burrows comes to mind as somebody who spent all last year or most of last year in the AAA Toledo starting rotation. There just aren't going to be enough spots to bring up the big five, as I call them, and slot them right with the Mud Hens. So how do these decisions get made? Again, the Tigers aren't going to tell me right now who they're eyeing to start in Toledo, especially when those guys are still in big league camp. But the way I kind of look at it, let's go back to how the decision is made. Dave Littlefield in player development talked to me yesterday, and he said it's actually a whole organization approach, especially with these guys coming back from Major League camp. Rob Gardenhire is actually more involved in that than you would expect, which, I don't know, it kind of surprised me that, Ron Gardenhire, being the Major League manager, has a say in where these guys are going to go. The reason for that being is he's seen them. He's going to want them next. He wants to know how far they're going to be, how far away they look right now. But Al Avila, David Chad, even pitching coach Rick Anderson, lots of people are going to be involved in where these guys go. Okay, so put that aside. Now, my educated guess, reading the tea leaves, reading things, hearing things in my conversations and looking at performance of these guys, I think Matt Manning's probably going to Toledo. He was the Eastern League Pitcher of the Year last year, spent all of last year at AA. He feels ready for a promotion. Sending him back is just treading water. Joey Wentz spent all of last year in AA. He split time between the Braves and the Tiger system, obviously getting traded in the Shane Green deal. But he, again, really ended on a solid note, made some real improvements, especially in the control department when he moved to the Tigers. Another year in AA, I don't think is going to help him. What he showed there at the end, with the Erie Seawolves, was looking like somebody who needed the next challenge, needed to face AAA bats. So I think right now we're looking at Manning and Wentz probably going up. I would also put Fado in that discussion, all of last year at AA. Some real improvements for him after he dropped in his first full season. The stock seems to be ticking back up with him. The velocity seems a little bit back there. Also put up some decent numbers there in the Eastern League. That would leave Mize and Skubal to go back. Now, those two guys arguably have the biggest ceilings. Skubal has actually had the best spring of anybody in that group. You go to Detroit camp and everybody talks about what Skubal's done, how he's thrown in the mid-90s, how he's thrown really good stuff. Mize obviously being the number one overall pick a couple years back, he's going to have the highest ceiling. Everybody wants to see him move the quickest, but Mize had some struggles at the end of last year, was coming off a shoulder issue, started out the year at Class A advanced, probably needs a little bit more cooking at AA that some of these other names don't. And Skubal moved pretty quickly. I mean, he was a 9th round pick. Nobody was really speaking about him going into the year. Now he's a firm top 100 prospect, and Detroit fans are asking, how quickly can we get this left-hander up to the majors? But given that he doesn't have the experience level of a Manning, a Fado, or a Wentz, I can see him holding back as well, potentially dominating, potentially moving very quickly. Maybe Mize and Skubal are up, by the end of April or even early May if they take off the way they're capable of doing. But this is going to be very fascinating. We're going to be watching this very closely when they do announce the opening assignments at both AAA Toledo and AA Erie in that Detroit Tigers system.
And strike three this week, we've got one of the highest ranked prospects in baseball as our guest on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show, and Royce Lewis from the Minnesota Twins. I think the last guy we've had on the show this highly rated, and maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but he is the subject of strike three, and that is Philadelphia Phillies prospect Alec Bohm, the third baseman who joined us back in November from the Premier 12 tournament in Tokyo. He is primed to make a pretty quick climb to the hot corner in Philadelphia, and Sam's got a tool shed piece that's up on that subject right now.
Yeah, so Tyler, you were as involved with this as I was. Obviously, you interviewed him for the podcast, but you got to see him at Team USA at the end of last year. I was fascinated by the season that Alec Bohm had. 5 different teams he played for. He played for Class A Lakewood. They started him on the slow road, even though he was a college bat. The reason they did that was, according to the Phillies, he had some injury issues the year before. He got hit in the knee. He missed time at Williamsport. They wanted him to get, confidence and show himself at the Class A level before moving him up, just based on his limited pro experience so far. They were also focused on defensive stuff. I'll get into that in a second. But he started out at Lakewood, moved up to Clearwater in pretty short order, then finished out the year at AA Reading, where we all expected him to be at the end of the year anyways. So the idea of just because he started at Lakewood doesn't mean they were always going to bring him on the slow road. They were going to promote him when he looked ready, and they certainly did that both at the first two levels. But then they also challenged him with a move to the Arizona Fall League, where he performed fairly well. And then Team USA came calling and said, hey, we have an opening at third base. We'd like you to come over here and help us qualify for the Olympics. Obviously, that fell short. But to see him play for 5 different teams in a season in what was supposed to be his first full season, he's supposed to just be able to play from April to September, never mind April to – when was that tournament in Tokyo over, Tyler?
November, first week of November.
Yeah. That's a long season.
No, second week in November, I think.
Yeah, that's a long season for anybody. And, when I talked to him, I was just like, what did that do for your preparation for this season? He was like, it was just shorter, but I was playing baseball. I was around the game. It didn't change that much. And now he's in Major League camp and performing pretty well there. He doesn't have any extra base hits yet, but he was hitting above 400 last time I talked to him. And the big question for him going forward is third base. The Phillies kind of have an opening at third base right now. They have Gene Segura that they've played a lot at third base this spring. The question was it going to be him or Scott Kingery at third? They're playing Kingery at second, Segura at third. But neither guy's a natural third baseman. Segura, I don't think, has actually played any third base in his major league career. So what happens, if Baum shows major league readiness, potentially starting out the year at AAA Lehigh Valley? Well, Segura can move over to second, and Kingery can become kind of a roving infielder in a role he's done before at the major league level. He's capable of playing shortstop. He's definitely best at second base, but they have plenty of options to make that work. The hit tool he's shown this year, he doesn't strike out that much. I think his strikeout rate last year was 13.5%, which is insane for somebody his size at 6'5". That's a big strike zone that usually comes with a lot of swing and miss. Doesn't for him. It's because he's somebody who's willing to take the ball the other way. I talked to him about it. He said he hates striking out. He'd much rather put the ball in play and take his chances. So he might, look a little bit different with 2 strikes instead of the modern game now where it's swing as hard as you can all the time, try to get as much power as you can. That's kind of fascinating for me. Again, for somebody his size, I would think he would be trying to hit 40 homers in a season. That day could come potentially, but right now the hit tool is ahead of the power tool. But the defensive questions are the biggest right now. Right at the end of last year at the Fall League, he split time between third base and first base. So I thought that was potentially going to be an option for him this year. The Phillies have said that's not the case. They're only focusing right now on third base. He's only played third base in the Grapefruit League. They like his movements over there. They like his progress, the way he's done it. I think a lot of times we focus on offensive improvements over a year, and that's why guys get called up, is because they're hitting the crap out of the ball. But sometimes they need to make those defensive adjustments as well, and that's part of the reason why they started him out at Lakewood. They wanted to get him comfortable offensively so he could focus on the defensive end. Given the way shifts are now, you can kind of cover for guys, but they even like the way he's played when he's the only guy on the left side of the infield. The arm can work at third base. Rhys Hoskins is definitely going to block him at first base, and this is Philadelphia we're talking about here, so there's no DH that Hoskins can move over and Baum can become first baseman. But they like him enough defensively right now that it is a question of when, not if, he will be making his major league debut at some point in 2020. So watch out for that, Phillies fans.
Hitting the crap out of the ball is going to be the title of this week's episode. And
never mind Royce Lewis, our interview. It's going to be hitting the crap out of the ball.
Royce Lewis, hitting the crap out of the ball. And with that, Royce Lewis is coming up. Sam got a chance to catch up with Royce, and obviously we're going to hear it here in a moment, but pretty cool to see Royce Lewis at this stage of the year.
Yeah, and this was a really fun interview. We got into a whole wide range of topics based on his own fall league season, in which he ended on a much brighter note than he performed during the season at Class A Advance and AA in the Twins system. We talked about being in big league camp, being a number 1 overall pick. I know there's some questions about his hitting stance and how he has a big leg kick, and how some people think that may have affected the hit tool a little bit. he says, he talks about why he uses the leg kick and why he's going to continue to use the leg kick, which is pretty cool. Just to go right into this interview, we started out with a question about a home run he hit in Clearwater. I think that happened on Tuesday.
Onto the Tiki Bar roof, right?
Onto the Tiki Bar roof, yeah. So if you're listening to this over the weekend and you're thinking, like, what is this awesome homer Sam and Royce are talking about? It was this really cool, he went deep to left onto the Tiki Bar roof, kind of a highlight-worthy home run, which is, we don't think of Royce Lewis as a power hitter. So just go look up the highlight, come back to the interview, know exactly what we're talking about. But this is me sitting down with Royce Lewis in Minnesota Twins camp.
What I want to start with actually is what happened yesterday with your home run in Clearwater. Take me through that at bat, and I know it got shared a bunch on highlights and stuff of you hitting over the Tiki Bar. How much do you care about how hard and how far you hit it?
Honestly, right now, I think it's really cool because it shows, how much work I've put in the off season, and the swing feels the same as last year. Just, that extra mass and I guess body weight amounts to how far it goes. So it's actually really cool to see. It went a little further. But the coolest part for me was that I got my hands inside on that ball. That's something I've been working on and trying to be consistent with and drive the ball on those inside pitches especially. And naturally I've been doing a better job. So it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, when you say that was what paid off from the off-season work, what was the focus of that off-season work, and how did that come into play there? I know you said focusing on inside stuff, but
yeah, no, I mean not only inside stuff, just my entirety of my swing and being consistent as much as possible. Whether that's staying in my legs more or opening my stance a little bit so I don't cross over and close off my hips so they get locked out, so I continue to roll over. So just making those tiny adjustments here and there and fixing my hand positioning as well. And I can nitpick through my whole everything, but just looking over video and noticing things that we could have done better, more consistent over time, and then looking at the fall league and why did I succeed there? What was the common goal there? Why was I consistent? And trying to keep that going. And for me, I feel really good right now. It's still really early, and the fact that I'm seeing the ball well and still staying on pitches and putting up some good at-bats, it feels really good. And obviously seeing some really good pitching as well, like Blake Snell, Hyun-Jin Ryu, and a lot of other pitchers, and Zach Wheeler, another one.
Right,
so,
obviously.
Just being able to see that and understand that I can handle that at that level, and now just being consistent with it and staying in my game in my approach.
Yeah, did those at-bats take on a higher importance for you when you're facing a Wheeler and producing results like that?
I mean, not the results necessarily, more for the fact of just seeing the ball and making sure I can see it well and be on time with things and be comfortable up there. Certain pitchers when you feel uncomfortable, that's when you start to automatically start freaking out, getting away from your mechanics, getting away from your approach. And for me, having an approach and staying grounded in my legs automatically looks like a way different person and swing up there and way more confident. I'm seeing the pitches for strikes and taking the balls, and I think those things have dramatically helped from the fall to now. I feel a lot better as well.
And we'll get into the fall league here in a little moment, but one thing I want to bring up is, speaking of that power, the Twins are coming off a historic season power-wise, setting a franchise record.
Yeah.
How much does that change, or how much does that trickle down to you guys when you're trying to fit into a lineup that already has tons of power?
I think everyone's got their own thing going on. So I think a great example is like a Louis Arias. He's a great, really good hitter, really toolsy. He does everything very well, but as far as hit tool, off the charts. That guy can bat 400. Right. I believe in him to do that anytime, whenever he wants. And so for him, he didn't get sucked into trying to hit home runs. He just kept hitting and doing his thing. And for a guy like that, and then to get called up, it shows all of us hey, just be yourself, whoever that is. If you have power, great. Have power, use it the right way. If you hit for a hit and hit for average, then do that really well, and you'll go out there and help the team out. And I mean, for Louis, it was basically get on base for guys like Nelson and now JD and Eddie and all those Polanco, everybody, and let those guys drive you in and do their damage.
And you mentioned the fall league before. How much momentum did that give you going into that offseason?
It was definitely fun. I'd say that. I think that was, some of the most fun I've had playing at the professional level, just because I was playing against all my buddies that I either got drafted with, played against, et cetera, and being able to compete with them on a nightly basis. There's only about 8 teams out there, so competing with all your buddies literally every night was really cool, and just going mano a mano, like, hey, I got to outplay you today, kind of saying. And I think going off that, my mentality has changed to I need to have that attitude no matter who's on the field, who I'm playing against. And for some reason, I just start mentally something happens where I just click and do a little better when the lights are on. That's what we call it, like quote unquote, when the lights turn on. And when the lights come on, it's basically like Friday Night Lights when, it's you and your buddy, mano a mano. It's like, all right, whether people are comparing you or not mentally, it's like, that's my buddy. I got to beat him. It's just like playing video games, and Madden or 2K or Fortnite, whatever it is. It's like, I got to beat you today. So how am I going to do that? And just using that competitor nature inside of you and, bringing that on a nightly basis is something that I'm going to carry over into this season. And, whether I strike out 4 times or make 4 errors in a game or hit 4 homers and make 4 defensive jeter plays, whatever the case may be, however I can make my team win that day and compete is how I'm going to play.
Who was one of those buddies you were specifically zeroing in on and saying, you're the guy I need to beat while I'm here?
Oh, all of them. I mean, there was like 4 or 5 guys per team, so I can name a whole 30 or 40 players, but literally just all my buddies. And it's kind of just like a little bragging rights thing, it's like it's just having fun with those guys, man. That's for sure.
And that's the mentality side. What's switched offensively to allow things to click? I know you said you've been watching a lot of video trying to study what happened in the fall league. What have you seen from those times?
Honestly, I think it was all mental, 100%. Looking at the video, my swing, people were like trying to compare, it's the leg kick, get rid of the leg kick. I feel like people were waiting for me to fail to say it's his leg kick, when really the failure came from me being mentally losing my confidence or not believing in myself and how good I actually can be, and trusting those abilities to where I go up there sometimes not believing in myself or really doubting I'd get a hit that time, and that's really a horrible mentality. And I apologize to all my teammates and coaches already about it, and I shouldn't have done that, and it was really a growth year mentally for me. And I think that's what's going to separate you from a lot of guys, not just myself, but all these players in the minor leagues, is that's how you get to the big leagues. It's the mental side. It's not just the physical. Obviously the tools will get you to the big leagues or to the AA, AAA.
Right.
Now, what separates you from half the guys in AA, AAA? Because everyone can hit 30 homers at this point. It seems like everyone can bat 300. It seems like to me, everyone's got the tools. Now it's just mentality, approach, consistency, and those are the things I'm zeroing in on this year to try to develop and continue my growth.
You mentioned that confidence slipping a little bit last year. At what point did you feel that happening or starting to happen? Whether it was here in Fort Myers or Pensacola?
I mean, I just put in a lot of pressure on myself because I had, admirations and goals, and I believed in my abilities to a point where I thought I could do a lot better. And struggling and not being able to make those adjustments kind of hurts. And I mean, that's all it is, just not being able to make those adjustments back. And that's on me, I figured that out, and I've learned, and I've grown from that. But I think last year was probably the best year I could have had, because if I continued my success and then waited till the big leagues to start failing, then it would have been a really big disaster and blown up all over TV. So it's better to do it now, and that's why I think we have the minor league system.
And what did the Twins do with you? Like that promotion, for instance, when it seemed like maybe the numbers weren't quite there, but you still got the bump to Pensacola. What were they doing with you to help you stay up mentally and make sure you were capable of still doing great things like you did in 2018?
I think honestly it was just kind of let him get through it on his own and try to figure it out on his own, because you got to grow by yourself, because when you don't have all these people around you, whoever it was to help you, what are you going to do then when you're alone? So it's kind of just, you got to figure it out on yourself and figure out your own stuff to make sure you can be at your best each and every day. And I'm gladly can say that I learned that, and I strike out now and look at positives from that at bat instead of striking out and thinking I suck or I got to do better, yada yada.
What is a positive you can take away from a strikeout when you're watching it on video?
Oh, there's a lot. I struck out a lot already in the spring early on, but I didn't feel like I was doing very bad. I felt like I saw the pitches, and you can nitpick. So I faced Blake Snell. He didn't throw me a single strike, I felt like, and I chased all these pitches out of the zone just because I was antsy, excited, obviously nervous for one of my first at-bats against a big league Cy Young Award winner.
Right.
Knowing that he's going to have good stuff and almost going after it instead of letting the ball come to me and getting in my zone. And I potentially could have walked. So that's a positive. I thought, against Cy Young Award winner, who's obviously it's early on in spring for him as well, but for me to be able to see it and recognize if I face him again, I just got to make him throw strikes. His curveball's so nasty and really good that he can't even throw it for a strike sometimes. So you got to make him throw it for a strike. And same with his changeup and his slider. So his stuff's almost too good to be strikes and true. So it's like you see it and you're like, oh, it's got to be right down the middle, and then it moves all the way back behind your back foot. So just learning those kind of things, and also that's what we have minor leagues for too, is getting those reps in and being able to see guys like that, so that when you face those guys again, you're like, oh, I've seen that before. I know what that's going to do. That's going to be a ball, or that's going to be a strike, and it might look like it's going to be a strike, but it's going to be a ball. Those kind of things, and mental reps, and just kind of doing it all over again, and that helps with being consistent and approach and knowing what you're going to do.
Gotcha. And let's move to the defensive side, especially in the fall league. You moved all over the place.
Yeah.
How are you able to stay consistent offensively when you're playing a different position almost every day?
Yeah, I mean, it's super easy. Like I was talking about the mental side of the approach, and at this point I figured out this game is probably like 95% mental to me. It feels like the other 5% is just going out there having fun, Little League in it, and playing with your tools. Because sometimes you can't control them, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, you might hit a ball 500 feet without purposely doing it, or you might make an error because your arm's a little bit better than you thought by accident. But just letting those tools play out and using them to your advantage and having fun with them, that's the 5% for me. But the 95% mental is literally I just click, all right, now I'm on offensive mode. Doesn't matter what I was doing defensively, what I did. I might have made 3 errors that inning. It doesn't matter. I'm about to be the best person I could be and compete in this at-bat for my team. And then from there, you separate from base running, from your at-bat to your base running. It's like as soon as the ball's hit, whether it's on the ground, in the gap for a double, triple, or a fly out to center or short, you just got to run your butt off, whatever that is, and be smart doing it. But that just, for me, separating those 3-4 categories, really, because even on defense, catch the ball first, separate that, and now you got to throw. So it's like you got to learn all these things, and then there's a lot of extra things you got to put into it as well, like runners on, who's fast, who's slow, where am I going to go. Just thinking about things ahead of time, it's literally a mind game. It's really cool.
And especially playing the outfield like you did. What was that adjustment like?
For me, I was just told to be an athlete, and I very little have played the outfield. Maybe when I was younger, 10U travel ball, from what I remember. And I think it's fun when you're able to make some plays, but for me, I've always said it was a little bit boring. Obviously, in the big leagues, the ball gets hit out there a lot more. But when I was in high school, Little League, our team was, blessed to be good enough to where the ball wasn't hitting the outfield too much. When I played out there, I played 4 games in high school. I got 2 fly balls, and they were very routine. And I told my dad, I'm like, man, this is kind of boring. And he's like, well, you just got to, help your team out the best you can, whatever way you can. So for me, it was more about how am I going to help the team today. I see my name on the card. My goal is to just be in the lineup, help the team out as much as possible, and if I'm not in the lineup, help the team out on the bench. And in the fall league, it was cool. We got the championship, and felt like I played a pretty big part in that team. Not even on the field, but off the field as well. Just having fun in the clubhouse, learning from a lot of players. It was a big growth development for me, and I know it was only 22 games I played, but I think it was the most important 22 games last year for sure that I played.
And when you say all you were told to do is just be an athlete, I feel like that's so much of your skill set now is just, like you said, rely on those tools. How much does it help to have that base of knowing you are fast and you can cover ground, you have the hit tool, so you can focus on the mental side?
Yeah, I know it helps a lot, and I'm glad I realized that at this point in time. I'm still young and able to contribute and have a lot of fun doing it. It's just going to make me better in my future.
And when you moved to Pensacola last year, first taste of the upper minors, what was the first thing you noticed that was different being that close? Because a lot of times people say that's when you can really feel it, is being close to the major leagues, it's Double-A.
I still don't feel it. Even when I play in these spring training games, like we played against Bryce Harper yesterday, Reese Hoskins, these guys are all, very high-level professional athletes, and JD Martinez. I can go down to Xander Bogaerts. There's a ton of athletes, baseball players especially, that I've played against, seen, and it doesn't really hit you until after you do it. Time has flied for me. I feel like this is already my third full season going into it, and I feel like I was just drafted the other day. But no, for me, it's literally, it's almost like you had a dream, and when you have a dream and a goal, and you expect things to happen, it's still really cool, but at the same time, like I expect to be there helping teams out and playing against guys like this, and that's my goal. So how am I going to get there? I got to expect it and believe in it, and it all goes back to mindset again. But it's pretty fun when you get to step back and look at, like, I'm on the same field as Bryce Harper or JD Martinez, etc. Aaron Judge, Garrett Cole, all those guys. It's really impressive.
And speaking of feeling like you got drafted yesterday, obviously being the first overall pick, there's only a handful of guys who can make that claim. What is it like going through your career having that? Do you feel like it's any different than being a normal pick, or not a normal pick, but a different pick? What is it like going through a career as having that around on your ledger already?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's no different because I obviously don't know any different. But I mean, I treat myself like how I want to be treated, like everyone else. We're just minor leaguers trying to get to the big leagues. Whether you're picked in the 40th round or the first round overall, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the only difference is the money, I guess, really, you could say. And people treat you different, whether that's they overly nice to you or they're a little bit mean to you because they think you're going to be a different way or act a different way. And so their first impressions of you it's always tough because they kind of are getting to read you. Like, are you like one of those guys like I'm everything and I earned all this, or are you a humble guy? Are you a normal guy, like just like another boy, homie? So it's kind of hard to get those first impressions with some teammates. But now I'm 3 years in, get to know all these guys. They're all my brothers, my homies, and we just have a lot of fun playing the game, man. That's all I want to do at the end of the day is win and be a part of the team.
And what is it like going back home after a moment like that?
It's normal. I mean, I went back to my high school. I practiced with my high school team. I go back to, I didn't go to college, but I go to the college I was going to go to and practice and have a lot of fun. And I have a good relationship with all the coaches and teammates I would have had or teammates I did have, and we just continue to talk. It's just normal, man. I mean, I feel like there's no difference, literally, except for the money, and people bring it up to me a lot, which kind of bothers me. But some people don't realize California taxes hurt a lot, so it's not like I got as much as they think I did. It's also why I moved to Texas. But.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I'm sorry for not knowing this off the top of my head.
No,
what school were you going to go to?
UC Irvine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, California Irvine.
All right, nice. So one other thing I want to talk about is, speaking of that draft, obviously the Twins were the first overall pick when you got them. So now they're the AL Central favorites, more or less, coming off a division title.
No doubt.
What is the growth you've seen in this organization over the last 4 years?
It all starts with the people and the personnel, no doubt. We get I honestly, I don't know every other organization, but I honestly personally can say that we all have been treated very well here. The people that you'll meet in this organization are the nicest ever. They treat you with the utmost respect, and they really have high quality of person here, and I think it just carries on to the field, and when we're all nice and being teammates and rooting for each other, having fun doing it. And then at the end of the day too, we got a lot of talent, so that helps too. But when you have high level people mixed with high level athletes, it's pretty impressive, and that's what we got going on here, and just having a lot of fun doing it too, man. So we got some comedians on the team or some jokesters, and that always keeps you uplifting and having fun. But just going out and playing and doing that at a high level, and then off the field treating people with the utmost respect it's important to us. So.
And speaking of having a loaded major league roster, that Pensacola team was very good, obviously, with you, Kirilloff, Larnach at the end of the year. You guys are kind of the core of the farm system now from a hitting perspective. How much do you guys talk about trying to break through, and how do you look at the major league roster and say, how do I fit in here?
Honestly, we don't really. We can't think about what we can do or, let's all go up together at this point. Like, we can't control any of these things. I think it would be really cool if we did, for sure. You've seen it before with the Bryants and the Rizzos and, even the Astros a while back with Correa and Bregman and Altuve all coming up at the same time, kind of very similar. Springer as well, creating championships with those young core. Mixed in with some veteran players and leadership. It's very impressive, and I think that's something that this year they can go out and do no matter what. For us, I feel like it'd be a blessing if we're able to get up there and participate and, help achieve a goal of winning a World Series.
And going back to something you were talking about before with mechanics, you talked about the leg kick. Some people have said that it might be a problem. You don't seem to think it is. What advantage does the leg kick give you?
That's just how I move. I don't think really there is any advantage, because I think you see guys like Pujols that barely pick up their leg, their toe. They'll toe tap and hit a home run 550 feet. And then you see guys with like Baez or people that slide into it. And, I mean, it's literally just how you feel and how you're comfortable. And I'm really uncomfortable when I don't have a leg kick, or if they try to make me do certain things or shorten the leg kick or something. That's just literally how I move. I feel the most comfortable, and I think that's how you got to keep it. If you're an athlete, as soon as you try to make an athlete try to do something that they're not, it puts them in an uncomfortable position. And I learned the hard way last year. But this year going forward, it's like I know this is how I move, and that's how I feel comfortable. So now how am I gonna fine tune that and keep it more consistent as much as I can, obviously so that I can stay consistent during the game.
And we'll end on this one. When you're looking forward to 2020, coming off what you had last year, how would you define a successful third full season?
Staying healthy, working hard as possible, learning as much as possible, and at the same time trying to get a championship wherever I'm at. If it's Pensacola or Rochester, Fort Myers, wherever they put me. I honestly could care less. E-Town, I've never been there, so I'd have a good time there. But or the big leagues, whatever it is, just help participate and trying to achieve a goal of winning a championship. So, I think at the big league level, they're definitely going to have the opportunity to do that. I'm hoping for the best for them. And then, throughout the minor league system, our system's very stacked, in my opinion. We got pitching and hitting combined, and we have a lot of fun playing the game that we love, and we're going to have a good chance to get the championship there, too.
Big thanks to Royce Lewis for joining us on this week's show. And final segment, obviously there are a whole lot of just gigantic topics that are dominating the headlines around the world, and we are not exempt to that in any way. Certainly Sam is already at a spring training trip in which a couple of days ago, Major League Baseball announced that clubhouses will now be closed to the media. That is probably the first of many steps that not only Major League Baseball, but all other leagues that are currently in progress are going to take. Today, we're recording this on Wednesday the 11th, the NCAA has announced that its postseason events, including the March Madness tournament on the men's and women's side, will be held without fans. This is a very uneasy time, and certainly we aren't going to speculate about anything. We don't have information about how the minor league's future calendar could be affected, but we are very mindful of the fact that you're probably tuning into this at least somewhat to get an escape from all of that, but we still owe you a discussion on what's going on.
Yeah, and I mean, Tyler basically hit on all the points there, in that there is no...
Stole them all from you.
That's fine. I did enough talking in the first segment, and then I did the interview in the second, so I think everybody's sick of my voice at this point. But yeah, I mean, the decisions that are getting made, we're hearing now about, games being moved in Seattle to other locations, and the governor of Washington asking that all sporting events basically not happen in March. Minor league opening day, as I mentioned in the previous segment, isn't until April. It's much later than the major league season. We'll see what's going to happen.
April 9th this year, I believe, correct?
Right. Yeah. It's a long ways away. Decisions, will be made. Tune into your local teams, see what they're discussing, see what they're saying. But as things stand right now, no decisions have been made on that point. I know Tacoma, I'm sure people in Tacoma are waiting to find out about the Rainier status, and then by April, who knows how far this is going to go. But we'll see what's going to happen. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be still covering minor league baseball right up until opening day, getting you guys set for this and acting like there's still a season to be played until there isn't, or games to be played until there isn't. I don't think the season's going anywhere, but we'll see what's going to happen here. We'll be keeping a close eye on it, just as you guys are. Just a general note, please take care of yourselves, wash your hands, do what you need to do to feel safe in this time. It is a kind of scary time when you hear about all that's going on right now, and know that these decisions are being made not just with, fans' best health in mind, I guess, but it's at everybody's. Somebody gets sick and it spreads, and somebody gets sick from, even though they weren't at a game. That's how these things spread. That's what the definition of a pandemic is that it spreads quickly, and these decisions are being made to stop that from happening. So if we hear more information, we'll bring it to you guys on our show like we always do. But yeah, keep them peeled to your local teams otherwise to find out exactly what's going to be happening in the weeks to come.
And that will do it for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. From Florida is Sam. I, as of right now, am headed to Arizona on Sunday. I'm supposed to be doing that on the back end of a broadcasting trip to Columbus, Ohio this weekend. So fingers crossed that event goes forward. And yeah, just take care of yourselves and be kind to each other. And thanks for tuning in, as always. For Sam, I'm Tyler. We'll talk to you next week.